Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we will continue our reading from Canto 8, Enchanting Pastimes. And we will be reading chapter 12, Lord Shiva Bewildered. Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yat kripa tamham vande, Shri Gurum Dintarinam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram, Hari Om Tat Sat. The chapter is Lord Shiva Bewildered. After drinking the poison from the milk ocean, Shiva had retired to his abode and had not witnessed Mohini's appearance. Later, Narad laughingly told him how she had tricked the Asuras, and he became curious. Lord Vishnu as a woman? Is this true? I have never heard of such a thing. It is true, said Narad. Vishnu's form as Mohini is even more beautiful than the goddess of fortune. He completely bewildered the Asuras into letting the gods drink the nectar first. It was such an enchanting pastime. Excuse me. Shiva stood up. I must see this form for myself. Turning to his wife, he said, My dear Devi, if you wish, you may come with me. Uma rose gracefully from her seat. I too am intrigued to see this form of Vishnu. Shiva and Uma, accompanied by their followers, soon arrived at Shvetadweep. Vishnu personally greeted them, and after Shiva bowed at his feet, he affectionately raised him and led the couple to a comfortable seat. When they were all sitting at ease, Vishnu said, What can I do for you, my dear Shiva? Smiling, Shiva replied, My lord, you are the supreme living force of all beings. You control us all. Everything visible and invisible comes from you, yet you are separate from it all and never contaminated by matter. As your form is spiritual, great saintly persons worship you to become free from the influence of your illusory energy. Furthermore, you never lament about anything, since you are eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. We gods come from and derive our powers from you. Indeed, all living beings derive whatever they possess from you. You alone are independent, as there is no difference between the gold in an ornament and a gold mine. There is no difference between you and the creation which comes from you. Since you are everything, you are celebrated as the absolute truth. Due to ignorance, conditioned souls fail to understand this and instead see the world in terms of dualities. Vishnu smiled. Thank you, my dear Shiva, but not everyone agrees. Many think Brahman is superior to me, while others believe pious work is the supreme principle. As you know, so many theories about the ultimate truth abound. Shiva shook his head sadly. These different philosophers don't understand that whatever they attribute as being supreme as you, for example, you are the Brahman and you are religious principles. You are also devotional service, for you are the independent supreme person. You have no equal or superior. Vishnu's face assumed a grave look. Many would argue with this. Shiva said, I am celebrated as the best of the gods, but I cannot fully understand your greatness for how you manifest the creation. Nor can Lord Brahma and all the greatest sages, headed by Marichi, all of whom are in the mode of goodness. So what do these lesser philosophers know? They are either from the human or asura races. So their natures are heavily contaminated by ignorance and passion. How can they appreciate the truth about you? You alone know everything, since like the air you pervade everything, both the moving and non-moving. Vishnu smiled. I am delighted by your wisdom, dear Shiva. Please ask me for whatever you desire. Shiva replied, My dear Lord, I have seen all your transcendental incarnations, but I missed your appearance as a beautiful young woman. I wish to see the form you manifested to captivate the Asuras and enable the gods to drink the nectar. Eager to see this form, we have hurried here. Shiva fell silent. Sitting stoically with his trident in hand, he had heard Vishnu's Mohini incarnation had captivated everyone. Excuse me. But he would not be bewitched. He was so advanced in yoga that not even Durga could enchant him. Understanding Shiva's mind, Vishnu smiled. his pride would soon be curbed. Vishnu then vanished. Shiva and Uma stood up in surprise. Where had the Lord gone? They searched the palace but could not find him anywhere. Disappointed and bewildered by Vishnu's behavior, they returned to Mount Kailash accompanied by their followers. As they passed through a nearby forest of trees with reddish-pink leaves and carpeted with varieties of flowers, Shiva spotted a beautiful woman playing with a ball. Her hips were covered with a big sari and ornamented with a sparkling belt. Her delicate waist seemed as if it might give way under the weight of her heavy body, heavy flower garland as she ran here and there on her soft reddish feet, bouncing the ball. Her lovely eyes darted about following the ball, and her two brilliant bluish earrings swung back and forth. Locks of raven black hair fell around her face, highlighting her exquisite charm. As she moved about, her sari loosened and her hair scattered. She tried to bind her hair with a delicate hand while simultaneously bouncing the ball with her other hand. Shiva, his wife, and all his ghostly followers became mesmerized by her divine beauty. She saw Shiva watching her, and while continuing to play with her ball, she frequently glanced his way and smiled coyly. Catching her glance, Shiva felt his heart leap. The girl was attracted to him. He gazed at her, forgetting that his wife and followers were with him. Suddenly the ball slipped away from her and she hurried to catch it, her broad hips swaying. A breeze blew off her fine dress, which fell in a heap along with her belt. She stood before Shiva, who gulped and stared at her without blinking. Their eyes locked and he became consumed with desire for her. Believing the attraction was mutual, he ran toward her, careless of Uma's presence. The girl tried vainly to cover herself with her hands and glanced down bashfully. With a shy smile, she hid behind some trees. Wholly overcome by lust, Shiva ran after her like a lusty elephant pursuing its mate. Moving swiftly, he caught her by her braid and drew her to him. She pulled away and she tried to resist Shiva's embrace, but to no avail. Even though Shiva embraced her tightly, she managed to writhe free. Uma frowned as she saw her husband captivated by Mohini. Drawing a deep breath, she calmed her mind. It was hardly surprising. This was the Supreme Lord who would not be attracted. Meanwhile, Shiva, maddened by lust, chased Mohini like an elephant in rut chasing a she-elephant in her season. As he did so, he involuntarily discharged semen. Uma was shocked. Shiva had previously never discharged like that other than to beget a child. She saw in wonder that wherever it fell, mines of gold and silver appeared. Shiva continued to chase Mohini as she fled to regions where great sages lived, such as riverbanks and lakesides, over mountains and through forests and gardens. Observing this, the sages said, if even Lord Shiva can become mad after a woman, what then of us? Each of them resolved to be even more cautious to avoid association with the opposite sex. After Shiva came to his senses and stopped chasing Mohini. He shook his head. How had he become so deluded? Surely it was Lord Vishnu's supreme power that had overcome him. Only Vishnu could have bewildered him. Shiva felt reassured. It was hardly surprising that he had lost his senses. No one can excel Vishnu, and to be defeated by him was not a fault. Seeing that Shiva had stopped chasing her and now was peaceful, the girl turned and faced him. She transformed into Vishnu, his four hands holding the conch, lotus, club and chakra. Smiling, he approached Shiva and said, "O best of gods, although you have been amply harassed because of seeing my incarnation as Mohini, the enchantress, I am happy to see that you are again self-composed. Let there be all good fortune for you. Due to their desire to enjoy independently of me, everyone in the material world, except for you, is prey to lust. Therefore, everyone is controlled by my material energy apart from yourself." Shiva's wife caught up to them as they spoke. Vishnu greeted her warmly. Ah, Durga, welcome. Turning back to Shiva, he said, as you know, your wife cooperates with me in creating the material world by manifesting the three modes of nature. She allures everyone in the universe, but by my blessing she will not be able to bewilder you. Shiva folded his palms and said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, who bears the mark of the Goddess of Fortune on your chest, I offer my repeated obeisance. That mark of fortune, as we all know, is Srivatsa. He circumambulated Vishnu 3 times and after receiving his permission returned to Kailash along with his associates. As they travelled home, Shiva jovially addressed his wife, my dear Bhavani, although you are celebrated as the unborn Lord's illusory potency, surely you were as impressed as I by his power of illusion. If even I, one of his principal expansions, could be deluded by him, what to speak of those controlled by you? They rode for a few minutes in silence, each marveling over Vishnu's mastery over everyone. Shiva broke their reverie. Do you remember when I performed mystic yoga for 1,000 years and afterwards you asked me upon whom I was meditating? Durga replied, yes, I remember it well. Shiva smiled. I was meditating on this same Lord Vishnu. He is so great that he is not affected by time, which controls everything else, nor is he known by the Vedas, which know everything. Shukadev glanced up at the moon. It was well into the 3rd night of his continuous narration. Parikshit still sat fully alert, his eyes fixed upon the sage. Owls hooted in the deep forest, and night birds flapped across the river, which gleamed in the moonlight. He said, my dear king, that person who bore Mount Meru on his back during the milk ocean's churning is no other than Krishna, who bears the Sharang bow. Can you now better appreciate the Lord's great prowess? Whoever constantly hears this pastime will succeed in all his endeavors. Indeed, describing any of the Lord's glorious pastimes destroys one's suffering. Shukadev placed his palms together and bowed his head, saying, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, assuming the form of a beautiful woman, bewildered the asuras and distributed to the gods the nectar produced from churning the milk ocean. So, we will start the next chapter, chapter number 13, the Manus, next time. Thank you for joining. Hariyam Tatsat, Hare Krishna. And coincidentally, yesterday was also Mohini Ekadashi. Hope you all had a blissful Mohini Ekadashi yesterday. Thanks for joining. Hariyam Tatsat, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.